and welcome. Hi, and welcome to Myth Club. This is an experimental stand-up mic of one, and I'm gonna send out the link this time to a couple of people, some people that might be able to give suggestions. First, I have to just figure that out here. I got the computer here. I'm doing it all myself, so it's kind of fun that way. So anyway, so I'm sending the link out to some folks who may or may not be able to give me suggestions 15 minutes or so in. So I just sent that link to some people. So hopefully by the time we get to the suggestion portion, we might have some people chatting, but I haven't quite figured it out yet. So one of the topics that was given to me though, I'll just put my phone in my pocket. That's going to be, this is all experimental. So we don't really know, I don't really know what I'm doing. All I know is that with the coronavirus, who knows how long this thing's going to last. So I got to keep doing my stand-up. I've been doing stand-up for about a year now in the Hollywood clubs and up and down the West Coast. And so, yeah, it's hard without an audience. So I'm trying to get an internet audience. Hopefully, if I can figure this stuff out. As I've said before, I used to have a podcast called Fat Free Film. It's over there on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to these episodes. They're interesting because they're all about filmmaking. Now it's like, do we even have film anymore at all? So Fat Free Film, if we were to start it up again, would have to be called Fat Free Digital Pixel Generator. Something forward thinking too, so it's not, because if in the future you don't make movies with pixels anymore, maybe you'll make them with molecules. Maybe in the future what'll happen is when you see a movie, it'll actually be a machine that's in your house that rearranges molecules so that you can watch the thing happen like a play right in front of you. All of a sudden, it'll rearrange all the molecules in your house and you'll be out in a field. You'll be like, wait a minute, where'd my house go? But you'll be in this interactive kind of movie. And that'll be pretty cool. We're not quite there yet. We don't really even have an audience for my show right now. Let's just see. I'm going to comment myself just to see. Hi. There, I commented. So it looks like the comments are working. One of my friends is good. I don't know if he's going to join us, but he is kind of a curmudgeon. He was in a really depressed time in his life, and he decided to ask me for a recommendation of a really funny movie. And you know how when somebody asks you, like, what's a really good movie or what's a funny joke, your mind just goes blank, or that's what happens to me. I used to, when I was a kid, we would go out to restaurants, and my parents thought it was hilarious when I'd order, because the waiter or waitress would come over and I would know what I wanted, but when they came over, I would completely blank out. And they thought it was really funny to watch me kind of deer in the headlights say, like, I'll have some fish jello and a hamburger cheeseburger sundae and some balloon fish. Like, I wouldn't even be able to speak the English language to this person. And the more they laughed, the more uncomfortable I got. So that's why I became a stand-up comedian. It looks like my first chat person is on. This is great. And I guess it was hard to figure out. This is my wife, by the way. Kamala Lopez, she's on there. She's my first chat person. I sent her a link and I told her how to do it, and she says, okay. So I'm going to try not to read the chats too much until I go for a topic. Yes, it is, she says. Okay, I'm going to stop looking at the computer because otherwise you're going to be like, why are you not doing your stand-up and why are you just looking at your phone? Because this is kind of one of the things that drives people nuts. So anyway, back to what I was saying, I had, I would just like freeze up and not be able to think. Just my mind would go completely blank. And this happens to me periodically in my life in situations where there's somebody of some kind of authority or there's some kind of thing where you're just put on a spot and you better have the answer. And for some reason, the answer sometimes just runs away. Like I was driving down the highway. I can't read the chats. I was driving down the highway and with some friends of mine. It was when I was in grad school, I guess. We're driving down I-5. That's how we call it down here in Los Angeles. I think up in Seattle they call it the 5. I've actually forgotten now. I grew up in Seattle. I think we said the 5, but it's the same road. Anyway, we're driving. We're going up to San Francisco, and all of a sudden I said, "I own the road," because there was nobody anywhere. It was just vast expanses. Saying "I own the road" sometimes is very similar to on Survivor, when somebody says, "I'm the vote," or "I'm owning the game," or "I own Survivor." As soon as somebody says that's when they get voted out. So I'm driving up to San Francisco with some friends of mine, and I say, "I own the road." I think maybe even I took my hands off the steering wheel to say this. "I own the road," and instantly, highway patrol appeared out of nowhere and pulled me over. And my friends were laughing, of course. They thought that was hilarious. Just like my parents used to think it was hilarious when the waiter came to the table and I'd be like, "I have some bone chip ice cream and a cheeseburger sundae," and just totally blank out. And so the highway patrolman comes up, and you know how they are. I think the word officious comes to mind. They come up and I don't know where they get these guys, but they walk up like they own the road. They actually own the road. But they walk up and they're just like license and registration. And when I was when I was that age, I knew what a license was, but the registration part, I didn't actually keep it in my car or know what that was. And I was living in Los Angeles at the time, driving a car with Washington plates, because at the time you had to pay a whole bunch of money to get the plates changed over to California. So I had a Washington driver's license, and I think my Washington driver's license had the address of the Space Needle on it. I don't know, because when you go to get your license and you're a smart ass little kid, you kind of you want to do some weird stuff, so you give them a weird address. I think I got that from the Blues Brothers. They had to go find somebody, and it turns out their address was Cubs Stadium. I'm going to read the chat here. Todd Lee. Oh, this is awesome. Todd Lee is on. Yeah, this is great. I have a wide wingspan. Okay, I got to stop reading this. I'm not gonna get on my phone and chat with people. Okay, I can't do it. I'm doing some stand-up here. So I own the road. I pull over. The guy pulls me over, and he's like, "Let me have your license and registration." So I just immediately started babbling. Yeah, I was like, I'm staying with some people. I think it was something I had pre-programmed in my mind. If I ever got pulled over with Washington plates and a Washington driver's license with the address of the Space Needle on, what I would say. And so that stuff kind of came out. And I was like, "Well, I'm just staying with some people. I'm just, here for just staying with some people." And I just kept saying, "Staying with some people, just babbling." And I never could pull out. I didn't have the registration because I didn't really understand. You know how it is when you're young and you get thrown out in the world, and maybe your parents forgot to tell you about paying taxes and about registering your car, and you live such a coddled life where your parents didn't really want to give you any of the stresses of life, so they didn't tell you anything about these things. So I didn't have the registration, and they had to take me to jail. Yeah, so they took me to jail. And I don't know if you've ever been to jail in Modesto, California, but it's not fun. Yeah. So that the other time that I blank out is when, when you're coming from another country, or you're going into a country and you go to the TSA person and they stamp your passport and they're like, why are you coming here? That question, like, why are you coming here? And a lot of times they say, oh, when you're coming home, like you're coming to Los Angeles, they're like, yeah, what is your purpose? And do any of us know our purpose, really? I mean, what? I don't know. Especially when you're coming home, they're just like, where are you going to be staying? I can never remember my address. And then also, I don't like to give out my address because I'm, doing live streams in my garage, and I don't want millions of fans to come here and give me a hard time. I'm going to read the comments now because it looks like there's some comments. Oh, it looks like there's some questions from the audience. What's this one? Did you palm bailiff's head? Oh, when I went to jail, did I palm the bailiff's head? Yeah. So that was kind of a thing that we used to do when I was younger. It was kind of it was a fad. One of the things about me is I'm the father of modern planking. And I don't know if you guys know, that the fad planking, if you Google it, you'll see that it's lying face down on the ground with your hands on your sides. And people do it in all kinds of different places. We used to just do it on the ground. But another fad that was originated during this time was palming people's heads. And yeah, we did this a lot. We'd just go up behind somebody and palm their head like a basketball. And we try and do it on camera somewhere. So if there was a reporter somewhere in downtown Seattle, we try and pinpoint where they were, and we'd go to where they were and we'd palm their head while they were trying to talk on camera. So like right now, someone could come in here and just start palming my head if they knew my address. And that would make it very difficult. So the person here is asking if I was palming anybody's head. And, I probably was a long time ago. And now let's see. I've got some more topics here. I need a Corona or a six-pack. Yeah, so coronavirus, like why do they call it coronavirus? What's that all about? Is it because it's called COVID? Is it just sounds like Corona? Somebody came back with a 40 and they were like, what are we going to call this thing? It's COVID. And then they just look and they're like, how about Corona? How about coronavirus? I think Corona was a virus before. I used to hang out, anybody you hang out with who's drinking a lot of Corona, we used to say it tasted like piss. That's what we said. And it seems like it is a lot like piss, but it's pretty inexpensive. And I don't know what it is, but people, you can really tell the alcoholics by whether they're drinking Corona, because the people that just drink beer for fun, a lot of times they're drinking like the stronger stuff, like IPAs and things like this. But Corona, you could just drink that all day, all life, all the time. You could just be drinking that, and you'd live, you'd survive. You'd probably be pretty happy as long as you just kept that constant stream of Corona flowing through your body. So, but the coronavirus is quite the opposite of that. It's not weak beer. It probably doesn't taste like piss, and it probably doesn't taste like anything. But I hear that if you start to cough and it's a dry cough, this is pretty dark shit. I'll tell you that right now, because I think that when I thought of that, the dry hacking cough, I think of the plague. But this is comedy here, so we're not going to get too far into the whole plague thing. Let's see what other suggestions there are. all my cousins have the coronavirus. That's not really a suggestion. That's sad, actually. All your cousins have, oh, I see, all my cousins, yeah. All my cousins have this coronavirus. Yeah, the coronavirus, that's a different kind of virus. They got to actually, it's like, it's like planking. Because planking, when we invented it, we called it face dancing. And then they called it planking, and then it got confused with the actual, the thing where you're on your arms like this, and it's actually really hard, and you've got to strengthen your core. And I know this guy, fantastic guy. He holds the world record for that kind of planking, right? Where you're just on your elbows planking. And his name's George Hood, fantastic guy. He just broke the record again, the Guinness Book of World Records, for 8 hours of doing that. So there's him, who's doing something that is extremely incredible and harrowing, and I don't know how he does it. And then there's other people that are just laying face down on the ground. And those people that are laying face down on the ground, it's not hard. It's not hard at all. And so they mix the two up, planking, and that's why the other one should be called face dancing. So the coronavirus, we already had the coronavirus. I knew some people that had that, I'll tell you that. And I know some people in the chat room that have the coronavirus too, but that's a different kind of virus. That's just called alcoholism. It's actually called low budget alcoholism, because if you have, drink some better stuff if you have money. But if you don't have any money, you can get a giant pallet of coronavirus. And that's what we don't want. Okay, so I'm going to look here for another chat. This is my setup. I've got 2 lights. I've got this blue wall, and I've got a computer here and see your chats. And if anybody wants to give me a topic, whoever's the next topic. Oh, and a fat joint. That doesn't seem to be a topic, though. Can we get just one other topic? Did I lose my listeners here? Is there anybody out there? Anybody? Okay, fat joint. I'm just going to go with fat joint. I'm not a smoker of marijuana. It's just not my thing. Because I get really freaked out, man. I've done it before, and every time I do it, because you see people, they're having so much fun smoking marijuana. You see these guys in Jamaica, and they got these, huge joints, and there's all this smoke, and they got their dreadlocks and everything, and they're just smoke everywhere. Or you see, I remember Ozzy Osbourne. He used to I think he even had like a gas mask that he would put on and just blow all the stuff in there into his mind, which actually is completely gone now, apparently. He's still walking around, but his mind has been smoked out. But he seems like he's still having a good time. And so anyway, so I think, hey, I want to be like Ozzy Osbourne too, and smoke pot and get all high and grow some dreadlocks and just have a good old time. But to me, it's like the opposite. So some people, they smoke pot and they smoke weed. Maybe even people say weed now, not pot. Maybe that's like an old person thing to say, smoke pot. So they're smoking weed. You gotta always change your terminology so you don't seem like Joe Biden. That's the real problem with Joe Biden, is he's still using that old John Wayne terminology. So does anybody know what the latest thing is to call pot weed? Is it weed? Yeah, this is my wife. She's giving me a topic here. Do you remember our first date? And yes, I do remember our first date. My wife and I, we had just done a short film together, and I don't know, maybe we were still in the middle of it. But anyway, we decided to go to a movie. And we knew that there was like an attraction going on between the two of us. There was a real strong attraction that we were sort of in denial about, because we were trying to do this movie. And if you know what it is, if you're trying to do some kind of business and you're like having this, you've fallen in love, and you just don't think straight. So we were just trying to ignore that and just get on with the filmmaking. But, you know, you got to have fun. So we went to a movie, and we decided to get really high before this thing. And we were young. This was a while ago. We were young kids, you know, having fun, going out on the town, trying to out-cool each other. You know, when you first get in a relationship, you're trying to out-cool each other. That's what we were doing. We were trying to. Well, I was kind of a dork. I was like a theater geek, and she was probably kind of a dork too. But you know, I thought she was like the coolest person I ever met, because that's how when you fall in love, you think that's the person is the coolest person I've ever met. So we just were like trying to out-cool each other. So we smoked this pot, and then she's like, "Hey, you want to drive my car?" And she had this big old, I don't know what kind of car. What kind of car was that? It was like a big old Lincoln Continental or something like that. And she says, "You're right. I am the coolest person you ever met." And it's true. It's true. So she had this big old Chrysler, and I'm driving that thing like when I owned the road, just driving that big old thing. And it's like one of those things where when you turn the wheel, it kind of suggests that the car moves right. It's got that such loose steering that if you go left, you know, you're like, you got to tell it a couple of blocks early, I'm going to go left. And then when you get there, maybe it'll start going. So I'm thinking, you know, trying to be cool. Like, oh yeah, I'll drive us there. Which, you know, this is illegal, by the way. So don't tell anybody. But so I'm high as a kite, man. And some people, they get really mellow, but I get like panicked. I was panicked on the inside and trying to act like I wasn't panicked. And I'm driving, and it was a nightmare. It was like we were in a fishbowl. We were looking out on the world, and the world was all water, and we were just in the fishbowl. But this fishbowl had air in it, so we were looking out. It was like we were in a submarine, I guess. And I'm driving that thing, and everything is going wacky. And I don't know how we got there. I don't even remember. But it was the movie High Fidelity. I just recently saw they're doing a TV show of High Fidelity now, and I recently saw on there that one of the actors, they're like, "Hey, you remember? You know, what do you think about this compared to the original?" And the guy was like, "Well, I wasn't born yet." That's what he said. He said, "I wasn't born yet." And the older you get, like things just seem like they weren't that far ago. But I guess High Fidelity is like an old movie now. But anyway, so we get to there, and we went to like the Grauman's Chinese Theater, which is now called the Mann's Chinese Theater, I think. And then we went to the Grauman. I think that's where we went. Is that where we went? I don't know. Oh, she says I didn't drive. This is comedy. You know, this is comedy, and in comedy, you can't really like tell a person it's not true because it's their story. That's the great thing about comedy is you're the only one standing up here. So whatever you say is true. I was driving, and I don't want to argue because I got the microphone, so I don't need to. But I was driving, and anyway, we got there. I think maybe I panicked because I remember we went to the 7-Eleven, and maybe I said, "Look, I can't do it." Maybe I would have got honest with you and actually couldn't drive. So then we got to the theater, and in the theater, I was tripping out. And I know, like when you smoke pot, you're not supposed to you don't really have a psychedelic experience. But I was having this experience where I was a little behind. You know, like the things would happen on the screen, and then you'd hear the dialogue. But then it got even weirder. I would actually see and hear interviews with the actors about the movie. And I never saw interviews with the actors about this movie, but in my mind, it was as if I was remembering all these interviews about every single, it's like commentary on the movie. And there'd be John Cusack sitting there talking with somebody about, I think Jack Black was in that movie. Am I right? Jack Black? Anyway, they'd have her having a conversation on the screen, and then John Cusack would be talking about, in my head, he'd be talking about how great it was to work with Jack Black. And I don't even know if maybe these exist somewhere. It was weird. I'm going to check the topic here. I have no idea. Oh, we're in 25 minutes, so we're going to end this show pretty soon. We should watch this movie again, clearly. She thinks I'm having an episode. I've been known to have episodes. Yeah. Not television episodes. I gotta get a laugh track because I can't be laughing at my own joke. I can't be. I mean, I can. There's a lot of people that try to tell you there are rules of comedy. These are the rules of comedy. You never take your hand and you never put them like this. Because this is, in Shakespeare, they used to call this the claw. When you were doing Shakespeare, a lot of times you had a tendency to do this. Because you're being so poignant. You do this. And so the acting teacher would be like, you're doing the claw. Stop doing the claw. But, I get kind of sick of people telling me not to do something. Because everybody will tell you not to do something. Like somebody that don't put your hands like this. But anyway, in comedy, there's tons of people that want to, comedians and non-comedians, how to do comedy. And, they can do that. But if you start to listen to them, you won't be able to do anything. Somebody tell me recently that comedians should not talk about themselves. Well, that would be really tough, really. You should never say the word I if you're a comedian. Because, people are just going, and I don't know, people might be, but the test really is, but I don't know. Does Jim Gaffigan never say I? Does he never talk about himself? Never talk about his life? Anyway, Jerry Seinfeld never talks about his life? Maybe he doesn't. He talks about socks. Whenever I think of Jerry Seinfeld, I just think about socks. About socks that I think was really funny. Something about socks on the side of the road and socks in the dryer. I'm really not doing it justice. But, Google it. Jerry Seinfeld socks, and you just get up. You laugh. Don't Google it now, though. Mario Kart seizure. Oh, God. Let's not go there. We're going to go there at some point. Because the thing about comedy is it's personal. It's not surfacey. So Bryan, yeah, that's Bryan Keating. We've seen some interesting stuff anyway. Yeah, I don't know whether this is actually Bryan Keating. Last I saw Bryan Keating was up skiing in Whistler. So jealous. One thing, the way I live my life, I try to do, exactly what I want to do. But as far as the skiing goes, it's really not happening. I mean, I go skiing maybe once a year, and it's like, it is the greatest experience, one of the greatest experiences of my life when I go skiing that one time a year. And this year, it didn't even go. Did not even go. So I'm completely jealous. I have no idea. Whistler's closed for a week starting today. You see, I missed it. I totally missed it. Then what are these pictures on Instagram? You guys were there like the last day? And and these are no masks up here. I saw that shit. And Instagram is it's so much fun. I love it so much, but it's also just so fear of missing out. It should be called fear of missing out. Because everybody just looks so happy. And they're skiing and, I'm podcasting or I'm streaming or live streaming from my garage, which is fun, by the way. It's a little like skiing. You look down the hill and you're like, oh man, I'm going to hurt myself. All right, so I'm going to end it today. I still am well. I don't have a fever or anything. I'm quarantining myself to keep flatten the curve. I hope you guys are doing everything in your power to flatten the curve. I know up in Seattle, I'm feeling for you guys. I think you guys are living in the future. I think you guys are about 2 weeks in the future as far as what we're experiencing here. Because right now people are just like, I don't care. I'm going to the gym. I don't care. I lived through HIV and I did this and I did that. And we don't know what this shit is, dude. It could be nothing. It could be nothing. But, I'd rather look like a fool and quarantine myself than end up hurting somebody. You know what I mean? So you guys stay safe in Seattle. I see that. Kamala is saying stay safe in Seattle. And I'm going to be doing this. If you guys want to jump in anytime, I'm going to try and do it at a regular time, but I haven't quite figured out a regular time yet. So every day I'm going to just pop on and do this, and I'll send people links and see if they want to give me topics. And that's it. Over and out. Stay well. Thanks for joining me. See you guys later. Boink. Oh, didn't do it yet. Boink.